Hello, hello. Here we go on another hike up a different mountain this time, so we don't get bored. Nah, mostly people are just starting to recognize me over there. Time to escape. So, as always, it's Wednesday. Apparently that's my hiking day, which is Randy Random. So we're gonna do a Randy Random Wednesday. Let's see. So I just had a bunch of random thoughts, I guess, which would be fitting for this one. So one of the thoughts I was having recently was like, I don't know, a little bit of lethargy, melancholy, kind of just, I don't know. I was looking at my life, myself, and just like, what do I got? What do I got to offer the world? You know when you just don't feel especially special. Like, sure, I can do some things decently well, but I don't know. So yeah, you might know that mood. Which I think is interesting because that's the kind of thing that, like, when you're in the mindset of having those kinds of thoughts, they seem like the most rational thing in the world, right? They're almost like depressed thoughts, but I'm not really depressed. That was the interesting part. It was just kind of a matter-of-fact kind of assessment of my life. And that's no way to feel, right? It's better to be excited to do things even if probably nothing will come of them. That's what life's about. But if you're unable to control whether or not you feel like doing things to the best of your ability, then I think we kind of naturally, at least I do, I start having these other thoughts that are a little bit more maybe logical, to just be like, what's the meaning of life? Anyway, sounds all depressed, doesn't it? But no, that wasn't the point of this. Because again, it was just a kind of a matter-of-factual thought. And I was kind of just looking at myself as I was thinking this, and I was thinking like, yeah, but I mean, this doesn't really matter. All of this has been true for my whole life, and so I can't blame the lethargy on that. The lethargy is just perhaps cause in itself, but I don't think it is. And so that's what we're going to get into next, which is something that I want to work on, but I don't know how. Okay, so I'll paint the picture for you. So maybe a lot of us have experienced something like this at least, but my scenario looks like driving somewhere, and then I can have like two states of mind, right? If I'm in the state of mind of like, I need to get to that place, and I'm just thinking about the destination, then the drive is unbearable. I hit a stoplight, somebody pulls out in front of me, or just slows down excessively for a turn, and it annoys me. Like, just a lot. So if I'm trying to have a thought and I'm in the state of mind, then anything, any hindrance is going to completely derail my train of thought. Versus sometimes I will just be kind of like zoned out almost, thinking about something else and just driving, I know I'm gonna get there, but the destination isn't even on my mind. And in those cases, it is just so smooth. I can hit all the stoplights. I can, you know, continue to think. And maybe I'll, you know, pay attention, of course, to what's going on the road. It's not like I'm just in a daze. But yeah, the important thing is just that difference in perspective and how it affects the way that I am able to deal with not getting to the destination, right? And so I was thinking about that, and you know, it's the classic journey before destination that we always hear about, like, but I think, at least it hit me in a different way. To be like, can I live my whole life? Like, I mean, because I've heard that saying, right? But to think about it in terms of my whole life, or just like, at least where I'm at now, there's just like so many things that I feel like I'm looking at a destination of where I kind of want to go in life. And since I'm not traveling at the speed that I think I could be traveling towards that destination, it just feels unbearable. And I end up being like, what's the point of life, right? So this is my analysis of why this year is just like, because on one hand, everything is going according to plan. On the other hand, it's unbearably slow. And it's just like, it almost feels like I'm waiting to live. I don't know. So I decided to make a little video here and talk about this, mostly because I want to understand the theory of why why it's such a good analogy to make between this idea of like traffic and my life as a whole, and how it kind of feels like a similar sort of thing. But on the one hand, you know, it would get home or get to work or wherever in a matter of a day, you know, within the same day. Whereas this is like a long term, like an entire year. Well, technically, I've been in this phase of life for, I don't know, 5-6 years, which for a while I was content with it because it was the next phase of life after the last one. And so this was kind of all part of the plan. But now, I'm like, okay, I'm ready for the next transition. But I don't know. So, can I push this analogy? I guess what I need to do is practice with something small, like traffic, like driving, to get into and out of a mindset of journey before destination. Just thinking about the destination and not. Like, can I actually successfully do that? The problem is, I think that my higher cognitive functions, a little chipmunk down there, you know, if I'm able to have like the executive function to be like, okay, time to practice this, I'm feeling impatient, therefore I'm going to try to be patient, or I'm feeling patient, I'm going to try and feel impatient. Well, at least going to patience. I think the type of thoughts that are associated or that would actually cause me to say that I'm being patient aren't thoughts that lend themselves to that sort of executive decision to just be like, an analogy, let's see, like, it's like if you're an artist and you're just not feeling it, and you're not feeling inspired, but you're like dedicated. So you're like, I'm gonna get up, I'm gonna paint a painting, right? you can have all the, dedication in the world, and you could even just start blapping paint all over. That doesn't mean you're ever gonna feel it. What are these sounds I'm hearing? And if you're not feeling it, then like kind of the whole process of painting becomes a job for your executive function, which is kind of just in an impatient state. So I guess that's what I'm saying is, if I can't think a thought, have a trigger that gets me into like I'm interested in talking about what I'm talking about, then I'm just going to be sitting there impatient in a different way. And I think in that state of mind, it's so easy. Your mind just drifts, and it's just gonna drift back to the point of, I don't know if I'd say least resistance, but it does seem to very easily. I mean, you know how it is when you're stressed out and you're like, no, it's all fine. It's all fine. And then you're like, okay, deep breath. Yeah, it's all fine. 10 seconds later, you're sitting there, and your mind is like, woo! And you're like, hang on, get out of there. It's all fine. Right? You know how it is. The mind has a mind of its own. It's like that book, The Second Brain. It's a good book. Anyway, I do feel like I'm kind of in something right now. I'm at least interested in the conversation. My mind isn't wandering off other than to all the noises I'm hearing. But anyway, so yeah, I don't know. That's the problem. It's not a lack of like willpower to decide to, to be impatient or patient, to decide like in my life to be like, it's all going according to plan. We are moving towards the next part of life, but I just have to kind of be patient, right? I guess I could tell you a little bit about the dilemma, because we're all kind of in it, I guess, right now. So it might be kind of relevant for you too. So here we are. Maybe you're my age, maybe you're some other age in which you want to do something in life. But here we are, and it feels like the world is, pretty, I don't want to say on the brink of collapse, but let's say just like chaotic, right? And it feels like it's more chaotic than it's ever been before. I mean, I was just telling my brother today that like cars weren't even a thing like 100 years ago. Not really, but last century, 120 years ago. There was like hardly any automobiles around the time of World War I. And streets, roads were for the use of like anybody, anything. You got a horse and buggy, you got a dog, sled dogs, you got a cart, you want to walk, you want to run, you want to cycle your bike out, then good for you. Then cars were invented, and anyway, my point here is just technology is coming in hot. And that's just one element of the chaos of the world, which, okay, I can understand that. The incessant progress towards whatever we're going to face at the end of all of this. But it's kind of like a mix between like having the technology to like obliterate everyone on Earth, and also like the mindset of like King Arthur. No, like we're out here like the Dark Ages or something with, I don't know. This is what it's like in America right now. So yeah, let's just say that the world is a little uncertain. And so to like take a step forward in life, at least for me, kind of requires leaving some things behind. You know, if I want to move, then it's like, yeah, leave your job that's reliable, leave your land that you like to escape the people that you don't. Not even. It's not even to escape the people. People are like, eh. It's more just like the land that houses the people, which house the ideas of chaos and destruction that is then aimed towards the other lands of the world, which would be the places that I would move. So, where do you move? And yeah, do I move? I don't know. This is all just ridiculous. All I know is that it's not exactly sustainable for me. So anyway, these are the questions that I'm asking myself. That sounds about right. These are the questions that I'm asking myself these days. What to do and when do I do it? In the meantime, while I'm asking these questions, I can continue to work and continue to save money. Wow. Not exactly a fulfilling life, so it's no wonder that I would be like, what is it that I do well? What is it that I really, have to contribute? I can barely drive fast enough down the highway. I'm always hitting stoplights. What is this whole drive even for? Something like that. So anyway, that's the actual situation. But solutions? You got any kind of ideas? You want me to practice in the car so I can practice in real life? Well, no, I don't think that that's a good. I mean, that could be fun. That could be a little experiment to try. Can you take control of your brain? But I don't think that's a universal solution. I don't think I can be like, step 1, count sheep. Step 2, fall asleep. That just doesn't work, It's going to be a specific thing that you're going to have to do. You have to reach into your brain and find some thought or idea or something relevant to the time you're in and the person you are in order to drag yourself out of despair or out of the destination first sort of mindset where you get stir crazy by everything, rather than just being like, I'm on the trail and I'm walking, right? You're speaking in riddles. Maybe. Just analogy. We're all tracking. Okay. What was I gonna say? So yeah, I don't think there's a universal solution, but instead of just trying to be like, no, stop feeling lackluster, stop feeling just nothing. Instead of trying to control that itself, I think maybe I should listen to myself. Because I guess if I actually ask honestly, then I could be like, well, technically I do have more time to plan before I can really do anything on those plans, but I could at least make more concrete plans. And I think that that's, the idea is a little bit scary to be like, all right, I'm gonna come up with a plan that I plan to execute. That's a scary idea to know you're actually gonna do something. So maybe I'm postponing doing that and I'm just blaming it on the idea that I can't actually execute it yet. Well, I could research it. I could be taking steps to be as prepared as possible to even decide if I want to do anything and what it would be. So I think that might be the solution for me, to take myself seriously. But the problem is, when you feel like you're so busy, you feel like every moment of life is just taken from you and you've got nothing left, then when do you find the time to do this stuff? That's the problem. That's why I need to change some things. All right. Sounds like a game plan to me, though. To make the plan. To address the actual thing. But wait, how does that come into play then when I'm driving? Because I don't just want a solution for my, it's not even like that big a thing. It's just a periodic problem when my brain starts to function. I realize where I'm at. But the rest of the time, I'm all good. Anyway, how do we implement that solution with driving? Because I would like to do that. If it is an analogous situation, then I should be able to apply an analogous solution. Yes. So you're saying when I'm driving and I'm thinking about the destination, sometimes it can be like, oh, I'm late, or maybe not late, but just, I don't know. I'm putting myself in the shoes of somebody who's not even there, but is going to be there, and stresses me out. I have no idea. Maybe, well, maybe I could be like, no, this is just general advice. General advice. Okay, well, this is just a random thingy that I did like last year. You guys have no idea what I'm talking about. All right, I'll just briefly mention it. So you know the difference between like being anxious about something and kind of in a productive way, where you're like, oh, maybe you've never done something before. And so you're like, all right, I'm gonna go get on an airplane tomorrow. I've never done it. And so you're worried about it. And so you start looking up some stuff. Now that can be a healthy worry, because you might realize, I need a passport. That would be good to bring. I don't even have a passport. What was I thinking? Right? So there's healthy worrying, where it actually lets you do some preparation. But then there's like ruminating, worrying, where you don't actually, oh yeah, maybe that's it. You're not harnessing the worry towards any, oh, here, you can look at this while I blabber. More trees on this side. 633 feet. Man, that's it. I think I'm gonna go back. Normally I would hike up. Where is it? Somewhere up in there. Top of that thing. But anyway, maybe that's the difference between ruminating and just a healthy worry. Is a healthy worry you can harness to, yeah, and it's 1.1 miles. Wow, this side's way less steep. That one's 1.3 miles. A fifth of a mile farther, 3 times higher altitude. Altitude? I think it's elevation, sir. I was thinking about that the other day. Altitude is how far off the ground you are. It's like the prominence of a mountain off of the surrounding land, except for air travel. Elevation is strictly off of sea level. Anyway, absolute versus relative. This is, you're gonna get locked away if you post this. People are gonna be like, listen to this lunatic. All right, listen then. So, healthy ruminating, healthy worrying is taking that worry and harnessing it to be prepared. And ruminating is just allowing yourself to worry about something and not harnessing it for any usable purpose. If all you do is think, I haven't flown on an airplane before, and you think that thought a million times before you fall asleep, but you never get out, you never ask anybody. That worry never causes you to ask anybody, do any Google searches or anything like that. And all you do is just sit there and not go to sleep. I've been there. Not specifically there, but I have been there. That's no fun way to exist. So you're saying that applies to driving? Maybe. You're saying that in the times when I'm like, let's get to the place I'm going, that perhaps there is a legit thing that I could harness to be better prepared. I think maybe. I think that that's a better use of the worry than to just sit there and worry. Because you could, if you really want to just say, I don't want to worry, you know that never works. Like you say, your brain always creeps off back and does the worrying regardless. So maybe you could just make a little concession and say, okay, if we're gonna be impatient the whole drive, thinking about, I mean, I am also kind of taking it for granted that this impatience comes from kind of focusing on the destination, or stems from some sort of worry or something, which maybe it's more broad than that, but there's some kind of unease, I would say, that goes with it, that I could probably be like, all right, let's think of one thing. I'm just going to think of one solution, right? If I'm going to meet somebody, or if I'm going to see somebody at the destination, I could be like, well, what's one thing I could say? You know, one nice thing. What's something that I could say? Yeah, you said it. You said it. Yeah, I could do that. But then my brain was just going to be like, well, why don't, if we could just keep thinking? I'm just going to keep worrying. I mean, I think you know if there's a legit thing. That, like, if you're legit, like, late for something, I mean, you know that worrying about it doesn't really help you get there faster. I mean, even speeding. When you speed, you might shave, like, a minute off of, like, a 15-minute drive. But a minute, it's not like you're a minute late. You're late enough where you're going to be in trouble. Not me. I'm never late. But, and yet here I am talking about feeling anxious in the car. Just in life as well. Can we just come up with solutions for all of this? We already did this. And the trick is to just trust yourself. And each situation is going to be different. Sometimes you're legit doing something new and you need to be like, put some research in, harness the worry, learn what's going on, and go through the process in your mind of all the steps and things that you're going to need to do. And that's great. Sometimes it's something that you've done a lot of times and for whatever reason you have a bad association. So you're just like, eh. So I think it's going to be, you know, kind of dealer's choice. You know, the guy at that time is going to know more about the situation than I am. So I can't just sit here and be like, think of one thing. You might need to think of more than one thing. You might not need to think of anything. Oh, there's somebody down there. Tucker. Son of a... You know how weird I sound? Weirder by the second. Okay. Should I pause you or wrap this up? We got a second. So anyway, I think just having a stressful life overall, though, makes it so you're more like you kind of put up with being stressed out, like more than you would, like if it's in better periods of my life, I can definitely be a much better guardian of my brain and just not being stressed, not overthinking things, not worrying about traffic or random people on the trail. So that's the problem. Like when you need to be planning the most, like right now, most things to plan, I'm kind of the least equipped to do it. But after I'm done, yeah. All right, well, I'm gonna pause you. I might just end it here. And if I think of anything else, I will come back. So in this one, we talked about the decay of my mental health. Now, I just took an analogy from this very unemotional thought I was having the other day. And I was like, that is kind of a sad thought, but also I'm well acquainted with those. It's just a day in the life. So anyway, we took that and compared it to trying to drive and just chill and how hard it is to do that. All right, be back. Maybe. Okay, well, just real quick, I'm back. He was actually really nice. That's the worst, isn't it? No. Anyway, so I was gonna say, just like, what do you do when you have like 17 different things that stress you out? And it's not just like one thing where you're like, okay, I'm gonna think of a solution for this. I mean, I think there's like, this was working well for me last year to be like, there's kind of long-term solutions to things, little things I can do every day that make me feel more fulfilled as a person. Oh, we got another person cruising it up. You're gonna be on this video, dude. I assume you're a dude with your brothers that just passed me. We'll see. All right. Woo! Indeed, it was a dude. For anybody who was wondering. Anyway, so yeah, there's like stuff that you can do every day, I think, whether it be eating healthy, trying to get better sleep. For me, it was like no phone use before bed. When I lay down to go to bed, that's it. So I'm not gonna just be sitting there indefinitely. And that was a great call. That was a good one. You know, doing a few easy workouts and things. You know, I go for a run or something basically every day. All of these things definitely help with the overall feeling like I'm stuck between a million different problems that I can't solve. At least there are some things I have control over. So I think that is important. And as for like, what do you focus on if you feel like there's so many things to focus on? I think it doesn't really matter. I think if you can get into the habit of being like, there's a problem, you know, I'm tired of how long this drive is taking, I'm ready to get there, and I can think of one solution. What's one thing I can say? Something like that. That might train my brain to get in the habit of being like, okay, when you're stressed out, let's find a solution. Let's find something. Like we're here to harness that, to use it, and we might not solve everything, but there are some things that we can do. And I think, based on other experiences, that just taking a little bit of control can just completely change your focus. And so even if the problems remain, it's just like where you have two different mindsets in traffic. You know, the traffic can be identical and bad in both situations, but with a different state of mind, you might not even notice. So I think that might be good advice. So I guess I'll try it, but how does it help with the long-term thing? I think I still have to work on long-term plans and short-term plans. And I have to somehow find this little bit of time in my turgid existence. All right, I think that's all I got for you today. This one is just me blabbering. Bye.